Guys, happy holidays. It is December 24th, 2024. Wow, happy Christmas, everybody. Well, last Christmas I had my hero, but I didn't have my Danny. So I miss my hero, but I'm glad I have Danny. And yeah, it's been a year, but it's also been a good year, and that's because of you guys. And with the love and support that you've shown me and that you've given this channel, it's so appreciated, guys. It's just absolutely appreciated, and I hope that I show that back to you. So, guys, I was on Morbid last night. It was a spur of the minute thing. A lot of you have reached out to me and said, hey, Toddy, when you're on Morbid, can you put something up on the community page? Not when I'm on Morbid. And I tried to get on Morbid on my phone, but I had to go to the computer and get on. And anyway, I was on the live stream last night. Of course, replay crew, always welcoming, and always feel like I'm a part of a great community on Morbid. So Morbid deserves credit for that, because not everywhere do you go and feel like you're part of a community, though I've been very, very fortunate with the people that have interviewed me and that I have interviewed, that have felt very comfortable with them. So I met a few new content creators who I knew about but never personally spoke to. So I was able to do that. Nina was on. Haiti Joyless was on. Hello Starlight. Of course, Apple Charlotte. Guys, I'm not going to get everybody's name. I wish that I could remember everybody's name, but I just really want to say that everybody that was on the panel last night was honestly great. We all were able to have a good conversation, and an informative one, and a friendly one. A woman from TikTok came on who was very interesting and spoke about the micro deletion, and she worked as a juvenile officer or a juvenile counselor, and she was fascinating. So a lot of things and a lot of very good points were brought up in Morbid's live, and not because I was on the panel, but because these things came up. I contributed some, but there was a lot of contribution, and that's what a good panel, I think, does. So very grateful for that. So because of that, a few people said, hey, Toddy, did you see this? Did you see that? And, they were talking about like videos and, some documentaries that maybe I had missed. And some of them I had seen, but one of them in particular I didn't see. And that was the one that had to do with Mommy Dead, Mommy Defamed, or that one. But the other ones I had seen. But always great to see things with fresh eyes and a little bit of hindsight. So I woke up about 3:30 this morning and I started watching this and I started watching that. And the thing that gets me is, how can everybody be on Gypsy Rose's side? How could Mike Stanfield be on her side? Here's a lawyer that now is basically in Louisiana, who doesn't even have a law practice nor a valid law license in Louisiana. He's from Missouri, right? Yet he is now Gypsy's manager. And then you talk about the doctor, Dr. Beckerman, who is another character that has followed the Blanchard family around. Now, when I say the Blanchard family, I mean Gypsy and her mom. And Dr. Beckerman, I still think, could be tested to be her dad, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if that was her dad. That's the way that I feel about it. So, watching these old things and having them rehashed, and, somebody said, because I kept saying, there's nothing that I saw Fancy do except bring a false narrative, and that it's in my opinion that Fancy should be making videos over and over and over again to change the narrative of Nick and Dee Dee both. And somebody said, hey, you could watch that Defamed one, Mommy Dead, Mommy Defamed, or whatever it was. And I watched it in hopes that it was something that Fancy produced. And it wasn't. She had excerpts. Nina had excerpts. And another content. So it seems like the people that could be screaming at the top of their lungs aren't screaming at the top of their lungs. if I had all the information that Fancy knew, I would be reaching out to the bigger streaming companies and saying this is all wrong. We got this wrong, and I got this wrong. I fed into this. And then I would, and I don't know, the word honestly comes into play here. I don't know how feasible that is. I would honestly dig into why a whole family is behind a person that unalived their mom in the most brutal way, at the very least, masterminded it in the most brutal way. How does Gypsy sleep with just a wall dividing Christy? How does Christy feel safe? Because, see, Christy knows the truth. Christy knows what kind of mom Dee Dee was. Christy knows that she helped perpetuate this untruth about Dee Dee. That doesn't make Gypsy safe. That doesn't make Gypsy somebody that can actually get by in society without losing her mind, or without showing us that she's a little unhinged. And I use that word with Fancy, I know, but Gypsy as well. We've seen it. She's on parole, and she's threatening people still, or warning them. Listen, I'm not going to be on parole forever. I dare you to say, she hasn't been able to control herself. She has used Ryan. Listen, sometimes our deepest scars, and most of the time our deepest scars, are not the physical scars. So it's not that this behavior has gone away. This behavior still continues. Her dad, Rod, I challenge you. I want to know, if you really thought your daughter had 18 years of life, how come you didn't try to spend more time with her? Because according to you, you really thought that she was that sick, that she was only going to live 18 years, according to you, Rod. Then why weren't you more present in her life? Why couldn't you go visit her once a year? You said you paid child support all the way through. You demand, I can see my kid. See, or you didn't pay child support and you really didn't care. So is this all about money? From the lawyer to the family? Is this really it? Would you really trade in Dee Dee, who raised your kid, Rod? Raised your kid. Spoiled your kid. Maybe taught your kid wrong, but didn't abuse your kid. Gave your kid a great life. You didn't. You failed at that. So she gave your kid a great life. Not the way it should have been gotten. But still. And you guys have absolutely no problem fabricating the type of person this woman really was. I have something, and I've gotten a lot of information again about Gypsy and what's going on. And there's a very, I don't want to say famous picture, but a picture that's like all the time shown of Gypsy and her mom and dad, and Gypsy's young, and Dee Dee looks fabulous, and she's got her arm around Rod, and she's playing with Rod's ear. Does that look like a newborn baby to you? Does that look like a baby that's 3 months old to you? Gypsy looks well over a year old in that photo, right? She looks about 2 or 3 years old. Why is Dee Dee still okay with, and why is Rod okay with Dee Dee messing with his ear? This is the terrible person. This is the person that the neighbors couldn't stand. The only person that has changed in this as far as personality goes is Gypsy. That's who's changed in it. So why has everybody, including a lawyer, a doctor, and a family, even the other family, even the Petrie family, not the whole family, but that nephew, Dee Dee's nephew, and to believe when these people supported Gypsy, and they came up with the Munchausen by proxy and gave her more stories, and then she added on to more. You know, like, there's a part that I watched in one of the other, I don't know if it was the documentary. I guess it was one of the documentaries that talked about how Gypsy said that she had taken Suboxone, and she had taken some from some inmates, and she bought a bunch of them for $50. That's not true. I'm like, you can't get them on the streets a bunch for $50. You think you can get them in prison? And I said this a long time ago about that. That's bullshit. So supposedly she bought because she was addicted. In the meantime, she didn't have anything in her system supposedly when they did, when they arrested her. So magic. Because if you're addicted to something, and mind you, she had just left her mom's, there was pills that she would have been taking them. I think, in my opinion, she was giving them away and or selling them to people like Dan before. But anyway, and I think maybe even Dan could have. I don't think that Gypsy was the pain pill person. I really don't. I think that that's an excuse, and I think that she says that I felt horrible when I told Christy that she was paying for a CD player that I broke of somebody's in prison. That's what you felt horrible about? That's what you felt terrible about? And for Christy to help perpetuate this, I mean, you have to ask yourself, what wouldn't you sell for money? If your good word is gone, you're lost. You have lost. Because everything you say goes under scrutiny. Everything you say is second guessed. You can't give people the peace of mind to hear what you have to say and walk away saying, that's the truth. Or to not give any thought to it. That's priceless, and that's what you guys have sold for money. Because why else? Why else? Mike Stanfield. You came up with this in your heart, in your mind, in your soul. You know that you came up with this. You know at worst, Dee Dee was a malingerer. You know that Gypsy was an ABUSED. Yet you have no problem with this woman's legacy being destroyed even more. People feeling and thinking the worst. So much so that now we're talking about her dad, Gypsy's grandpa. So do you see what happens when you let a little bit of shit out? The whole stink comes out with it. And now you have somebody who's dangerous, who has misbehaved. Listen, man, this is not your best behavior when somebody gets out of prison. They tend to keep a low profile. Not Gypsy. Gypsy broke the hearts, broke promises, made up lies, left dogs behind, upworlded, and got pregnant by a guy who apparently doesn't want anything to do with her now. And now there's this innocent kid, and you're going to be responsible for that for the rest of your life. How do you like that? How do you like that? You see what happens when you let a little bit of shit out? The whole stink comes with it. So now, if something happens to that child, Mike Stanfield, I think, should be held accountable, because he's the one that perpetuated a lie that he could never prove. But yet he has anybody interested that watches mainstream media or looks at a case, makes them believe that Dee Dee was doing something horribly wrong to her daughter, and all she was doing was participating in a grift with her daughter. And Nick, the weaker and vulnerable person, who's the real weaker and vulnerable person, not the person that you said Gypsy is, but Nick is. And there's facts behind that. And you are walking the streets helping her promote a book of lies. Shame on you. Guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Have a very happy and healthy holiday. Enjoy your family and enjoy memories with those people that are no longer with us, My little hero, my dad, Jennifer. Take a moment to enjoy and remember them, because that's their legacy. That is the thing that keeps them alive. Guys, be better today than you were yesterday, not half as good as you'll be tomorrow. Always be kind. Thanks, guys.